Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Castlevania Rondo of Blood. In the last way we wrapped up the stage 3s and moved on to the stage 4s, and now we're in stage alternate 4. This is a stage that can cause me some problems here and again when either specifically going for its alternate exit, or if I'm playing the remake and trying to go for the Maiden that's hidden in this stage. Thankfully the Maiden here in the original version of the game isn't too bad to get, but they made her a lot more precise to reach in the remake with the extra step they added. As for how to reach said Maiden, on this next screen after we get through this gate, there's going to be another frog statue like that one just to my left. We want to whip this one. It will lower into the ground. That's only step 1. Step 2 is that we need to do the same thing on another frog statue on the far, far end of this room. With that said, you can't go too far because if you accidentally go through the next door, I think you just can't backtrack, period, so be careful. The frogs do seem like they might be annoying enemies because they do hop around like slower fleamen and they do have a longer range attack due to their tongue, but they're so slow you can just easily whip them. And the skeletons that are climbing on the ceiling or bridges in here are basically not a threat at all. The real puzzle here is whether or not you can pick up on whether or not the frog statues are what cause what's about to happen to happen. Once we get to the end of the room and hit this second frog statue, we want to now backtrack through this room back towards where we first saw the first wooden bridge. If you were paying attention, you might have noticed there was a stairway on the bottom of the screen, but we had no way to reach it. Hitting those two frog statues and making them sink makes this wooden panel fall down and gives you a way down to this bridge. And on the far right of this room is the door leading to our next Maiden. The remake made doing all of that much more annoying because the puzzle was instead to guide a specific frog onto a specific pedestal without it being destroyed, and yeah, that was a bunch of trial and error and just hoping to get things the right timing, and I did not like it. But I'll save the rant about that properly for whenever I get to the remake in a couple of years. Because at this point, the remake's going to be one of the few classic venues I still haven't tackled outside of, like, Vampire Killer for the MSX and some of the PC releases, I guess, alongside, like, Haunted Castle, huh? Time to meet Iris.
Oh, are you human? Did you come to save me?
Yeah.
Oh my, you are injured.
Nah, I'm fine. This is nothing to make a fuss over. See ya.
Oh, wait a minute. My father is a doctor. That should do it.
Thank you.
Oh no, it's I who should be thanking you. Thank you very much. You're going further ahead, aren't you? Do be very careful.
And just like Terra, there's a different scene if you rescue Iris with Maria.
This? Come to save me? Uh-huh. Oh my, you are injured. Yeah, but I'm just fine. Uh-oh, gotta run. See you. Wait, my father is a doctor. That should do it. Wow, thank you so much, miss. Oh no, it is I who should be thanking you. Thank you. It's very dangerous here. Be careful.
That's 3 Maidens saved and 1 to go, and we're not going to be able to rescue the last one until the penultimate stage of the game. So, Iris is voiced again by 3 different people depending on which version you're playing. In the PC Engine release, she's voiced by Akiya Yasuda, who, outside of Iris, I can only find info suggesting she voiced Marielle in Togareboshi no Memole, an anime from 1984, Tomoko in Espermami, another anime from 1987, but her most prominent role in air quotes is as Unicorn Jabu from Saint Seiya. Meanwhile, in the Dracula X Chronicles on PSP, both in the remake story as well as the redub of the original game, as seen here, she's voiced in English by Karen Strassman and Japanese by Eri Mizuhara. We've already talked about the former due to her also voicing Terra, but info on the former is kind of scarce. She's apparently also played Riona in Two Heart 2 and played Eri in a TV drama called Ore no Dandyism, but that's about all I can find. So this screen here seems like it might be annoying because we have the birds dropping Fleamen like they did all the way back in the first Castlevania, but there is one thing I will say about Richter. It's that while they did go back to the more deliberately stiff controls for him like they had for Simon in Castlevania 1 and Trevor in Castlevania 3, as opposed to the fluidity of Simon in 4, Richter is easily the sharpest feeling and most agile of the classic Belmont control style. His whip speed is incredibly fast, his jumps are sharp, and when you tell him to go a direction with the D-pad, there's little in the way of delay or sluggishness compared to even some of the other games. His Belmont strut is actually more like a Belmont power walk. The extra little bits like the backflip and the item crash to the sub-weapons also does a lot there, but also a minor thing you might not have noticed yet because I haven't brought attention to it yet, he's also one of the only Belmonts who never needs to upgrade his whip. From the moment you first gain control of him to all the way when you stop playing as him or beat the game, there's never a whip upgrade item to find in a candle like there was for Simon and Trevor and all the others in between, really. And honestly, not for nothing, that minor element goes a long way with how Richter feels to play, because you're always at full strength. It's just a matter of whether or not you can actively surmount the challenges in front of you at that point, really. Mind, it also could have been a factor of they removed it because this game had enough little eccentricities, they didn't want to go overkill with things. Plus, while it's easy to make a visual upgrade distinct for the whip, for instance, by making it a short whip, then a longer metal whip, and then the full-out flail, what would they have done for Maria at that point, I suppose, in comparison? Just more birds, maybe? At this point, though, we've reached the main exit of Stage Alternate 4, which, like with main Stage 4, puts us against the Dullahan, who, if you bring the Holy Water in for, Richter has a really good way to take care of, but you still want to be careful not to get yourself too backed up against a wall here, because if the Dullahan does a jump attack while you're all the way on the top left platform, you more or less have no way to avoid it if it's going to get you in range to begin with. That right there was the earth-shaking rocks fall attack I brought up last time, by the way. He didn't get to use that as Maria, but that's because we kind of killed him pretty quickly as Maria, not for nothing. This specific arena, as well as the boss fight, kind of reminds me, though. There is one thing I infinitely prefer about the original Rondo of Blood to its remake in Dracula X Chronicles, and it comes down to visual styling and color palettes. The original Rondo of Blood is a very colorful game, but it all feels like it belongs by and large. The remake still has those colors, but the saturation is dulled down so much, and it just pops so much less, and not for nothing, there's times where that actively impacts readability in boss fights. But I remember the Dullahan fight especially just being a lot of stone grays and all that. It's just so much less interesting looking. So, at this point, it's time for us to go for the alternate route here in Alternate Stage 4. And to do so, you get on one of those rafts on that waterfall and then fall down. And now we have a giant auto-scroller where skeletons try to get you off your platform, on top of there being some crows with chests you can hit for some extra items. But you need to be careful, because the final crow that shows up eventually has a sign telling you to watch out, because this waterfall eventually also goes into another pit that is actively instant death, unlike the one we used to get down here. You need to time a jump just right to get to the other side, and not for nothing, doing that as Richter is really, really, really rough. I really recommend doing this stage as Maria at this point, just so you have that double jump to save you, just in case you almost barely don't make it. Oh god, like that. And hey, it's the ferryman again. How are you doing?
Thy destination awaits.
So there's actually a little secret with the ferryman here I didn't know for years. Specifically, you can jump off the boat and get back on.
I'll give you something good.
You can do this several times for various items. They start off with healing items.
I'll give you something better.
Into a key you can use to unlock the door at the end of this room, which you do need to do in order to get to the boss.
Come no more.
To an infinite supply of invincibility potions, which don't last that long, admittedly, but are still worth noting they're there. In fact, if you're playing this via the Requiem collection, doing this is required for a trophy. Which, on that note, very weird thing Konami's done with the Castlevania collections the last decade or so, just about, honestly, is that they're very uneven when it comes to their trophy and achievement difficulties. Like, the classic collection that's just all the original games prior to Rondo of Blood is just like, beat this game or that game. That makes sense. The Requiem collection, that's this game and Symphony of the Night, alright. Beat the games, do this or that, and maybe interact with some more obscure parts of the game, like transforming into the bat transformation when you have a bat familiar out. Seeing a little bird grow up in one part of Symphony of the Night's map. Or doing what we just did there with the ferryman. But then the Advanced Indominus collections, I feel like, have very opposite mentalities for their achievement and trophy design. Namely, the Advanced collection's a lot of get 100%, like get all the souls in Aria, get all the cards in Circle of the Moon. But then the Dominus collection goes the exact opposite direction, where you don't need all the souls in Dawn of Sorrow, you do not need to do all of the side quests in either Portrait of Ruin or Order of Ecclesia, and it just feels really weird, especially considering the Dominus collection was the most recent one. I guess they just figured people didn't want to put in that much effort for the grinding or something. I don't know, it felt weird when I was doing those platinums. That's the alternate route of Alternate Stage 4, all cleaned up, nice and good, but you might have noticed something earlier. As we saw last time, both exits from Main Stage 4 led to Main Stage 5, which was weird. And of course, finding the Dullahan here in Alternate Stage 4 was the main exit, so that should lead to Main Stage 5. But the alternate route also leads to Main Stage 5 here. That means all 4 Stage 4 exits lead to Main Stage 5, but on the map, if you look, there's clearly a space for an Alternate Stage 5. That's because they do something weird with Alternate Stage 5. Specifically, you can't access it until you've beaten the game. And I've never quite understood why. I guess I maybe have some pet theories about it, but I'll save those for when I tackle the stage next time. It's just a very bizarre note in this game's progression. What this does mean is that you actively can never technically first beat this game with a completion marker on your file select at 100%. The highest you can get to, I believe, is 96% at that point. With that said, main stage 5 is where the game starts putting you more towards a very focused route. No more stages moving forward have alternate exits. There's just the one exit and the one boss fight, although there are at times alternate routes through the stage you can find. Like for instance, in this stage here, we get onto a boat. You can do what I did in the previous screen to come down here and find where the engine is, and if you destroy that, you can actively get an extra life. And if you slide through that thin passage as Maria, you can reach this room that has this mirror for some reason that I can find no info about what it's for. I'm assuming this was for an idea they had in development they ended up not implementing in some way. My personal theory is that maybe at some point this stage was going to have 2 exits and that mirror was going to play into the second exit in some way, like it teleported you to the alternate fight or something, but I don't know, it's always felt weird. Anyone who has any further information about that than what I can find, hey, sound off on that in the comments, I suppose. While we go through this stage, I might as well note the next set of staff credits, namely the sound staff, so the composers. There's Akira Soji, Keizo Nakamura, Tomoko Sano, and Mikio Saito. Credited as Akira Pito, Jiko Koguruma Nakamura, Sanopi, and Metal Yuki, respectively. Akira Soji started as a sound designer on Castlevania 4 before doing both sound and visuals work on this game. After this, they did sound design on the Genesis version of Sparkster specifically before doing similar work in Contra Hardcore, Snatcher, Tokimeki Memorial 1, and Gradius Gaiden. They also did audio work for the EVS system in Tokimeki 2, which is where you can input a custom name and characters could say it, before being a programmer and director on Tokimeki 3. That painting, by the way, is one of the scariest things in the game. Not that it's actually horrifying to look at, but if it grabs you, you get absorbed into the painting and killed instantly. I'd recommend faster attack options just so you can potentially stun lock it, so either Maria's normal attack or one of Richter's sub-weapons like the axe is your best bet there if you can find one before that. Keizo Nakamura started as a sound designer on Castlevania Chronicles, notably the Sharp 68000 version that came out in 1993, not the PS1 version that came out in 2001. After that, they worked on Rondo of Blood, followed by doing sound design for Snatcher and the first Tokimeki Memorial. In the late 90s, they left Konami directly to join Love Delic, working as a programmer on Moon Remix RPG Adventure as well as UFO A Day in the Life, before leaving that company and joining Vanpool Incorporated. While there, he was a programmer for freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land, with his last list of credits usually being Let's Yoga or Let's Pilates for the DS, which were, funnily enough, published by Konami, so his career, as far as I can find credits for, is bookended by Konami. Tomoko Sako started as a sound editor on Vulcan Venture before doing sound work, visual work, and some voice clips even for Rondo of Blood here. Afterwards, they did music and lyrics for Tokimeki Memorial 1 and 2. They also did sound work for those two Let's Pilates and Yoga titles we just mentioned, as they were also with Vanpool at the time. They also did some work on Magician's Quest, Mysterious Times on the DS, Little King's Story on Wii, and 3 Degrees C. Their most recent credits are doing sound work for Dillon's Rolling Western and Paper Mario's Sticker Star back in 2012, though worth noting they did also do some map design for Smash Brawl. With that said, we're on to the boss of Stage 5, and I'd be careful and be stocked up because I'd argue, depending on the situation, this could be the singular hardest boss in the game, at least damage-wise. Because it's time for good old Death to return. He's not too active a combatant at the start of the fight, though. He's going to be doing the thing he's been doing since Castlevania 1, floating about at random, while sickles get generated at random across the screen that try to home in on you. Notably, he does suffer some pretty nasty knockback whenever you hit him, so you probably want to use weapons that have some good range in this fight. The Dragon, or the Suzaku with Maria, or the Cross Boomerang, or Axe recommended as Richter. When he reaches the rough last third of his health, though, he does a phase transition where he'll go into the background near your general vicinity and fire some skulls in a circle around you, but if you get to the opposite side of the stage, you're in the clear. Then he changes his cloak around and enters a much more aggressive phase where he's going to be using his scythe to actively attack you, but he stays ground-based during this. Largely, he's either going to do a very wide-range scythe attack, or he's going to spin his scythe around in a way that does a lot of damage and is also rather hard to avoid. Thankfully, he doesn't usually have much health left by the time you get here, so he doesn't have much opportunity to use it. The thing to watch out for, though, is that he does have a specific counter to Richter's Cross Boomerang in that phase, normally putting up a shield that then destroys the cross and shoots several homing projectiles back at you instead. He does still generate the homing sickles in that phase as well, but they're much less common than they were back in Phase 1. And now we're going to go back to that stage again as Richter, as while there's only the one exit, I figure showing off how death works as Richter is pretty worth having. Plus, there's a single room in this stage we didn't show off as Maria, and that's over here to the right of the Skeleton Archer, where there's going to be an enemy known as the Ruler Sword, who's going to hover about the screen on the top third of it, while having other weapons try to home in on you. This is actually a precursor to the Spectral Sword enemy from several rooms of Symphony of the Night. But as Richter here, I'm really taking the wrong options. The Cross Boomerang can't destroy the weapons for one thing, only the webcam with what I have right now. And even then, Richter's limited movement and attack range can be pretty harsh in this fight. Maria definitely makes this much easier. Once you fight the ruler sword, you're going to move on to the room where we fought the various skeleton archers as Maria earlier this part. So after that, I'm going to mostly cut to death, but I do want to showcase something that happened along the way. Namely, my capture card glitched out in a very amusing way. With that said, flashing lights warning for the next, like, 10 seconds. Because, I've never seen it do this before. I don't know if my capture card's on the way out or what, but thankfully I noticed it before the end of the stage and, reset it for the boss fight. Wrapping up the sound team, though, finally we have Mikio Saito. They started doing music for Tecmo with Gemini Wing, also doing the music for the Master System version of Rygar and the original arcade Ninja Gaiden. They joined Konami's sound team with Datana Twinbee before working on Rondo here, then worked as a sound designer for Marshall Champion before being heavily involved with the Tokimeki Memorial series. They were an arranger, sound producer, and did music and sound effects for the first game and its various re-releases before doing similar work for its puzzle spin-off, Tokimeki Memorial Tyson Puzzle Drama, and also did sound work on Tokimeki 2, its sub-story game, and became a producer for Tokimeki 3, 4, and the first Girls side entry, alongside being a producer for several early DDR titles. When fighting Death as Richter, you have to be much more careful due to the different jump physics. If you're not paying close enough attention, you could jump to attack Death, just to have a sickle blindside you and deal pretty hefty damage not for nothing. Here in Phase 1, the cross boomerang is still perfectly safe to use, I should note. In fact, it's even a very effective tool. Just be careful again about using it in Phase 2 because he does have a distinct counter to it. Despite that distinct counter, I do think Richter has the easier time in Phase 2 for a couple of different reasons. Namely, the Vampire Killer just has a greater range than Maria's Bird, so you can hit him from a larger distance and thus be safer from his scythe slashes. But also the other sub-weapons he has are just as effective as they were largely, especially the Holy Water and Axe. The only other risky sub-weapon I think is the Dagger, because if you throw that at him during, say, a scythe slash, I think it will get bounced off of him. At the end of the day, I do think this is actually one of the harder bouts against Death in the series, at least when it came to the classic Mania angle, but I also find it to be one of the most exhilarating just because of how much is happening at once. His pitch attack upon Death, by the way, is that he throws his scythe in the air that then comes back down on top of him and decapitates him. Pretty easy to dodge pinch attack at the end of the day. With Death out of the way, it's now time for our final march towards endgame. With that said, something I didn't showcase after defeating Death with Maria is that there is actually a cutscene upon first beating Main Stage 5, so let's go take a look at that.
Such a fine girl. Surely the blood of a beautiful woman will quench the thirst in my body.
Stay away from me!
What are you afraid of? In exchange for your blood, you can gain eternal life and beauty from me, can you not? Please, it's a simple matter. I get what I need, and you benefit as well. And then together, you and I shall reign over this world.
If it means becoming a savage, I would sooner kill myself.
As you wish. However, what exactly makes me a savage? If my existence itself makes me savage, is that not the result of this world? Are not all the people of this age savages as well? If so, I should be a shining beacon for what this world wants me to be. The one to lead them. Do you not agree?
My Lord Count,
What is it?
there are intruders in the castle.
I see. Destiny can be quite fun at times. They've likely come to interfere. I hope you'll be in a better mood later.
Save me. Richter.
And thus our final Maiden comes into focus. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 5 we make one of our final marches towards Dracula. See you guys then!